Hello, I'm Ros Atkins. Welcome to World Have Your Say. Well, in a moment, we're going to be talking to some of you about what's happening in Boston. As you may well have heard, it's in lockdown as a police hunt continues for a suspect in Monday's Marathon bombings attack. First, let's get all of the latest developments from the BBC's David Willis.
A sleepy Boston suburb in the early hours of this morning, and a massive gunfight is underway. Police had cornered the two men they believed were responsible for the Boston bombings, but the suspects were clearly in no mood to come quietly.
In the exchange of the gunfire, we believe that one of the suspects was struck and ultimately taken into custody. A second suspect was able to flee from that car. What we're looking for right now is a suspect consistent with the description of suspect number 2, the white-capped individual who was involved in Monday's bombing. He should be considered armed and dangerous and is a threat to anybody that might approach him.
There's a 20-block perimeter around the location that Chief DeVoe just talked about. We are concerned about securing that area and making sure that this individual is taken into custody. We believe this to be a terrorist. We believe this to be a man who's come here to kill people. We need to get him in custody.
This morning's events come less than 4 days after the Marathon bombings killed 3 people and injured more than 170 others. The FBI released surveillance footage of 2 men who they believe planted the crudely made devices after concealing them in their backpacks. They followed that footage up with this close-up of the men's faces. The events of the last few hours took place less than 2 miles from the scene of the Marathon bombing in the Cambridge area of Boston. At 10:30 local time, the suspects attempted to rob a store at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. They're then thought to have shot a campus police officer who died later in hospital. The men then hijacked a Mercedes SUV. In the high-speed chase that followed, explosives were thrown at police and shots fired. The chase ended in Watertown, a residential area west of Cambridge. There was an exchange of gunfire here at the junction of Dexter and Laurel Street. One of the suspects was killed and a police officer was shot and badly injured. The driver of the hijacked Mercedes was released, and the second suspect got away.
This gunfire went on for about 10-15 minutes, and then one larger explosion. It was really loud. My ears are still ringing, and after that I just clambered into my closet. I'd heard something possibly enter my room and found, right where I'd been sitting at my desk, a bullet had gone through my outside wall, through my calendar on my wall, through the back of my chair, and right where my head would have been. And actually, the bullet came to rest right at the foot of my bed.
A massive manhunt is now underway for the second suspect. The Boston mass transit system has been shut down. Residents have been told to stay indoors, and businesses are being urged to shut their doors until further notice.
Well, as David has been telling us, this is a day like no other in Boston. The city's in lockdown as suspects at large. We're going to be speaking to people in the city to help us report this story, in particular in the Watertown area where those 2 suspects were initially apprehended. Remember, wherever you're watching, but particularly if you're in Boston and you can help us report this story, we've got a phone number, a text number, and you'll find us on all the usual places on social media.
People are going to want to know.
Let's just say something.
We're on the hashtag WHYS. We're also bringing you all the latest from the news agencies and BBC reporters in Boston, and just as importantly, from the people of Boston who are sharing an awful lot of information about what's happening on this extraordinary day. Let's go straight there and meet 3 people. We have Chris Farron, a journalist for the weekly Dig Boston. He was near the scene of Monday's bombings. Also, Peter Newman, Professor of Security Studies at King's College London. Peter, we'll come to you in a little while. But first of all, let's speak to Sam, who's live with us from Dexter Street in Watertown. Sam, what's been happening?
It's been pretty crazy here. It's
We woke up about almost 12 hours ago to a car screeching down the street, a giant crash, and then the sounds of explosions and automatic gunfire. And since then, it hasn't been as intense. It's been a lot of police presence going into different houses on the street, setting up sort of in front of our house. And then about an hour and a half ago, I think it was, there was cops coming to our door telling us to get down right now. They thought that they had, or they might have had the guy a couple sort of backyards over. We're not really sure. So we were on the ground for about half an hour or so, just kind of waiting to see what happened. And then it seems like the situation in my immediate area has kind of relaxed since then.
Sam, we'll carry on talking with you in a moment. I should mention to those of you watching, we're expecting to hear from the Governor of Massachusetts, Deval Patrick, in a few minutes. And also, these pictures behind me are live images from Boston at the moment. It gives you an idea of the scale of the police operation just in that one part of the city. And this operation now spans not just Boston, but there are concerns about one vehicle in Connecticut we were getting some reports about. Sam, let me ask you more about what happened in the night. How long did the initial exchange of fire go on for?
It blurs together, but I mean, I felt like it went on for about 5 minutes or so. I think my wife agrees with me. It started out with what seemed like a couple big explosions, and then some pretty rapid exchange of gunfire, and then I saw some police running down the street in front of my house, and some more minor exchanges of gunfire, and then quiet. But, you know, it was over really, really quickly, it seemed.
Rocky Hill Inn, which I think is in Boston, has tweeted about the fact that Boston police are now asking social media users not to post information they hear on police frequencies and scanner channels. In fact, I saw just before I came into the studio that some of those scanner channels are now being shut down. Let's also talk to you, Chris. I talked to you a couple of days ago on BBC World Service Radio. Even after the terrible events of Monday, I don't think we could have imagined this would be happening in your city.
It is unbelievable. I've just made my way to the downtown area, which is, there's still a lot of media presence, but it was absolutely swarmed yesterday and the day before, and much of the city is a ghost town, mostly just commercial vehicles on the street.
So it's not just the Watertown area that is being disrupted. The whole city has come to a standstill now.
Well, I think people really are staying in their homes. We've had the mayor of Boston is Mayor Menino. Whether it's in Watertown, which is just to describe the landscape there. When people talk about Boston, they're really talking about a few different places. Cambridge is right directly over the river, as many people have seen on the map today. So that's where this chase began. Moved right down, moved west. And,
Chris, thank you very much. I'm just going to jump in because I'm worrying a little bit about the quality of your line that you're speaking to us on. We'll try and sort that out. In the meantime, thank you very much for your help. Sam, still in Watertown, I just want to get an idea of what you and thousands of other people in this part of the city are doing. Are you all just staying away from the windows and hunkering down?
Yeah, we're just sort of hunkering down. It's even as it's gotten a little bit more relaxed, I know that we've been a little bit closer to the windows than we probably should be. It's at this rate, it seems somewhat relaxed. So we're just honestly trying to kill time more than anything else. We were listening to the police scanner radios that were online until they took those offline. So it's been a lot of Facebook updates, Twitter updates, texting with friends. I've been checking in with work. I had to close down our work office and just making sure everyone else was safe at work and stuff like that.
And I noticed you keep glancing to your right. Are you concerned about something out the window, or?
No, I'm just there's just a lot of police out there and a couple of fire trucks that come down. So I'm just keeping an eye out on it rather than focusing too much straight ahead, just in case if something does happen.
Well, we appreciate you helping us report this story. Peter Newman, let me bring you in at this point because we now know that the two suspects are of Chechen origin. We believe they've lived in America for at least a year, possibly several more, and they were born in Kyrgyzstan. We're not going to get involved in the huge amounts of speculation, but nonetheless, Chechnya does have some connections with terrorism, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. I mean, there's a long history of an independence struggle which in the past 15 years has turned decisively jihadist. So you will have had a number of terrorist attacks, mostly in Russia though, that were perpetrated by Chechens. And of course the Chechen cause has been adopted by the jihadist movement all over the globe. That does not necessarily mean that those two individuals were intimately connected to a network. I still think that their attack was pretty amateurish, and whilst they may have been inspired by the ideology, at this point I don't think they were necessarily connected into organized structures.
A couple of other details to give those of you watching. We understand that the suspect who was killed, the older of these two brothers, a 26-year-old, was taken to a hospital where some of the victims of Monday's bombings were being treated. And I'll also mention, because I'm using this and it's incredibly useful, you may want to, as you're watching World Have Your Say, we've got a live page on our website. bbc.com/news is the address. If you go there, right on the front page, you'll see it says live. Click on that, and there you'll find a page which is collating an awful lot of information about what's happening. So that might be useful for you. You can tweet us as well, WHYS. The good news is we've worked out the details of one of our guests who was with us just a moment ago. We'll speak to him in just a second. Sam, are you getting any advice on how long you're going to have to stay in your house? I mean, is it going to get to an issue where people are going to start running out of food and things like that?
We haven't heard anything about how long. You know, the actual interaction with the police has been pretty minimal, except for the one sort of emergency event a few hours ago. But you know, that question's been asked a couple times actually today, and we're pretty well stocked up, so it's not really an issue for my wife and me. You know, we you know, I don't think it would last a few days, but we could survive a few days if we needed to. You know, I'm really hoping that this gets resolved this afternoon, but I guess you don't really know in these kinds of situations.
No, we certainly don't. I can see that Boston's Logan Airport has just tweeted, flights are arriving and departing. It says taxis are available, but in very high demand. You can only imagine how much that is true. And just to reiterate a tweet that I mentioned at the beginning of the program, the Boston Police Department is saying, media alert, warning, don't compromise officer safety by broadcasting tactical positions or homes being searched. Well, let's go back now to Chris, who's on a better line, I'm hoping. Chris, just tell us a little more about what you saw on Monday in the moments after the attack. In the moments after... No, that line is no good, so I apologise, but thank you for trying, Chris. A couple of other things to add. Andrew in Boston is just tweeting saying, stay inside means stay inside. This is citywide. It's an order. Let the police do their job. And Ali in Boston says, Boston's taking it all from TVs in their apartments. Pics from the streets of Boston this morning are of a ghost town. But if we go back to you, Sam, when you look out your window, can you see any residents at all, or it's only police and firemen and security officials?
I haven't seen a single no one's going outside. No one's even really at their windows. Everyone is being. I haven't seen a resident since this happened at all. You know, it's only police and emergency personnel outside.
And Peter, you're an expert in these kind of operations. Presumably the focus will solely be on getting the suspect rather than solving Monday's crime.
Yes, for the time being, the reason there's a lockdown is for two reasons. One, of course, because the police doesn't know exactly where people are, so it wants to search every house. But secondly, also, because these people are likely to be terrorists, there is a chance that when they escape, they want to take as many people with them as they possibly can. And we've had in previous incident cases where people have blown themselves up or they've endangered other people. So it's not just for the police's sake, it's also to protect other people in that particular area.
Thank you very much, Peter. More tweets coming in, helping us report this story. And by the way, if you're in Boston and want us to pick up your tweet, though we're looking across a number of hashtags, we're using the WHYS hashtag. Just Anna says, I'm seeing so many police on the streets, it's easy to forget they're searching for one man, but indeed at the moment they are. And Adam says, armed police urge reporters stay away from the situation now on Arsenal Street in Watertown. And just to reiterate, Watertown is the focus of this investigation. Initially, it was just Watertown which was locked down. Now the whole city is in that situation. Well, I can see comments coming in from Saudi Arabia, Kenya, Sudan. That's absolutely not a surprise because of the huge interest in this story since Monday happened. Now, let's pull up another group of people to speak to, because we can bring in colleagues from the World's Newsroom who are live with us. There they are. Anya Dorodeko from BBC Russian, Ahmed Meher from BBC Arabic, Jin Lee from BBC Chinese, and Raphael Shashon from BBC Mundo. Perhaps, Jin Lee, you can lead us off. How is your audience responding to the story?
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm Raphael from Mundo. In Latin America, The reaction was, of course, at the beginning it was a shock because it was a massive event and they were so unexpected. But right now, you know, the people start to feel a little bit questioning everything. For example, they are not sure about why this suspect died immediately on the shooting, and they start to create kind of conspiracy theories. Like, come on, they never asking for anything. It's a suspect now, and they also started to talk about Chechnya, about that country. Okay, it has oil. You know, there's a lot of suspicion around U.S. and all the intention they have. But of course, there is a shock in general in our audience in Latin America.
What about one of the rest of you?
Sorry, say that again?
What about hearing from one of the other guys there with you, Rafael?
Okay, what about you?
Yeah, from China, millions of Chinese netizens are following the events in Boston closely, taking China's two biggest blog websites from QQ and Sina as examples. Each has over 1 million comments. One of the reasons is because that there are Chinese student casualties in the Boston blast, and most of the bloggers express their shock, sadness, and condolences to victims. However, there are a few bloggers shouting hooray to this tragedy, and they are being heavily criticized by the majority of Chinese bloggers. Some people say their reasons to shout hooray is because US has bombed other countries like Afghanistan and Iraq, and they are preventing China's rise. But these people are being criticized by other bloggers as extreme nationalists or cold-blooded animals lacking humanity.
And Xinli, this is interesting, and I've heard quite a few people talking about America's foreign policy, but with respect to those of you who are pointing that out, at the moment there's absolutely no connection between America's foreign policy and what's happening. The reason I can say that is we have no idea who committed these crimes. We have 2 suspects. They're not proved to have carried out the crimes. Even if it turns out they are guilty of the crimes, we have no understanding whatsoever of why they might have carried them out. So to connect it with anything, whether it's American foreign policy or anything else, is getting several steps ahead. Thanks to our colleagues from the language services. We'll go back to the World's Newsroom in a little while. Peter, you are trying to help us sift the speculation from the facts. For someone like you who's interested in understanding why these kind of attacks happen, presumably you're having to withhold a lot of your judgments just because there's such a scarcity of information.
Absolutely, and over the past few days we've gone through so many theories which all turn out to be wrong. The really odd thing is that there hasn't been a claim of responsibility, a credible claim of responsibility by anyone. Usually you see that turning up within a couple of days of a terrorist attack. That hasn't happened. What I expect to happen now over the next 24 hours is that people are looking very closely at the social media accounts of the suspects, because they usually reveal, typically, if people are terrorists, what kind of convictions they had. So I expect people to look at their Facebook pages, their YouTube channel, Twitter, etc. And that will tell us a lot about what convictions these people had. That will, of course, not be decisive, but it will give some indication as to what motivated these people.
Thank you very much, Peter. And there's another couple of interesting things to add about social media. BBC Monitoring has been helping us look at social media in Russia and also in Chechnya. And when it comes to Chechnya, 2 strong emotions are coming out repeatedly. One is a suspicion that in some way America has been involved in slurring the name of Chechnya. And the other is that the reputation of Chechnya around the world, whether these men are proved to have been involved in the attacks or not, will be damaged by it. A lot of concern by that. I also had a fascinating conversation with BBC Arabic earlier, who were talking about the fact that American Muslims are now concerned that if these men are proved to have been involved and they're shown to have been Muslims, the repercussions for them could be serious. Now, lots of comments coming in from Saudi Arabia, Libya, Sudan, Jordan, Nigeria, and India. Thank you very much indeed for those. Let me just bring you a couple more tweets, because really social media is doing a great deal to help us tell this story. Nicole says, it's Friday, it's 11 a.m. in Boston on a beautiful day, and the city is in complete chaos. Ali tweeting from Boston again saying this week has been one long bad dream, and I'm sure a lot of Bostonians would agree with that. And Catherine Sotnick says a car being towed down Cambridge Street in Boston, explosive sniffing dog here near the car. And Christian just says It's complete insanity here at the moment. And if you just look at these pictures that you've got up on your screen, I don't know if you describe it as insanity, but it certainly gives you an impression of the scale of what's happening in Boston. And just to reiterate, if you're just tuning in, one suspect in the Monday marathon bombings in Boston has been killed. He was 26. His younger brother, they're both living in the States but of Chechen origin, his younger brother is on the run, and that is why you're seeing such a huge amount of security forces out on the streets in Boston. We'll keep on bringing you the latest here on BBC World News, back in a couple of minutes' time.
No, I absolutely... Talking about it. Let me say something. No, I absolutely... Talking about it. Let me say something.
Welcome back to World Have Your Say. With the help of people directly affected by what's happening in Boston, we're bringing you the latest on a situation which has now been unfolding for hours. Many of you will have switched on your television or your computers or your radios and heard that 2 suspects had been tracked down to a car which was being chased. In the shootout that followed, one was killed. It turns out he was the 26-year-old older brother of the younger man who's 19, who's now on the run. There are 3 bits of information about them which are relevant, I suppose. They are of Chechen origin, but they haven't just arrived in America. They've been living there for some time, and they were born in Kyrgyzstan, and the BBC's Russian Moscow bureau has been able to confirm that. Let me just show you this situation. A couple of policemen outside an Armenian market and pizza place in Boston with a gentleman with his bike on the floor. Nothing to suggest he has got anything to do with the investigation, but it gives you an idea of the fact that if anyone is out and about in Boston at the moment, they are likely to be spoken to by the police. Do you know, let's quickly go back to Sam, who's been with us on Dexter Street in Watertown the whole time. Sam, do you know of people elsewhere in the city? Have you been able to find out what they're experiencing?
A little bit. I've been talking to a lot of my friends over Facebook and Skype and everything, and it seems at first it was going to be a little bit more normal for everyone, and then they shut down the T or our subway around, I think, about 7 a.m. this morning. So I think everyone's kind of hunkered down from what I've talked about. I know there's been a few people that have gone into work, but I know my work, everyone else is just, everyone's at home kind of glued to their televisions waiting to see this thing resolved. You know, it doesn't seem like it's business as normal anywhere in any of the towns or in Boston or any of the towns around it.
Well, Sam, you're one of hundreds, if not thousands, of Bostonians who are helping not just the BBC, but many media organisations report the story. Let me just show you this. Someone called Jennings has been tweeting about what's been happening on his street. Let's have a look at what he's been saying. They're taping up the street as a crime scene. I don't think we're heading home soon, he says. Jennings there on JRASKE, if you'd like to follow him. And lots of people, and if you follow the World Have Your Say Twitter feed, BBC_WHOS, we're often retweeting people who've got things to say. Now, we're expecting a press conference any moment from the governor of Massachusetts. Doesn't yet feature the governor, but let's see who's speaking at this press conference.
They did have the CRV at the time of the carjacking. So they made their way to the site of the carjacking, we believe, in the CRV. And it does seem, as some of you have asked, that they did hold the victim of the carjacking in the vehicle for at least a few minutes before letting him go. The CRV was present at the time of the carjacking. One of the suspects then drove away with it, and that's why we were looking for it. We have recovered it in Massachusetts. I think we recovered it in Cambridge, but I'll double check that for you. But that answers the question of the CRV, hopefully. We don't have a report that that was carjacked. I believe it was just in their possession. I don't know if they owned it or what have you, but that's what's here.
There were reports last night about this state police SUV being stolen. That was false?
That was false.
Was someone in it or was it abandoned? Like, how do you find it?
The CRV was abandoned.
Was there anything in it?
I can't discuss that at this time.
What was false? Something was false, we didn't hear the question.
The question was that a state police truck was stolen last night as part of this. That was false.
Who does the CRV?
I don't know the answer to that.
What's going on now?
The governor and the mayor are being briefed by the commanders of the various agencies, and we expect that they'll be briefing you soon. We also have some police activity down the street. I don't know if you can see it from here. There was initial report of a possible suspect. It is not suspect number 2. It is not White Hat. They're clearing that scene. So.
Is it a third suspect?
No.
Is there a suspect at all? No suspect.
Not a suspect in this. They're probably, I'm not sure what drew their attention to the person, or if they're running him in any way, his background.
Can you spell your name?
David Procopio, P as in Peter, R-O-C-O-P-I-O, spokesperson, Massachusetts State Police. And I think we'll leave the rest for the briefing.
Is this a staging area just for investigation, or how big is the staging area sort of briefing?
The staging area is in the Arsenal Mall parking lot.
And is that for the entire investigation?
Yes, it is. Okay, thank you. I'm going to turn this back off. We're down here? No.
Ma'am, get back.
So there we have a spokesperson for the Massachusetts State Police giving a short statement. We are expecting, as I was mentioning a couple of minutes ago, the Governor, Deval Patrick, to talk as well. Needless to say, as soon as he does appear, we will bring that to you just as soon as we can. Let me read you a couple more messages that we're seeing here, just as we look at some of the pictures coming in from Boston. Erin on Twitter says, the buzz of helicopters can be heard overhead. Sirens blaring, a constant reminder that something is terribly wrong. David tweeting, the Staples truck's ringing doorbells in our street. Does he know we're in lockdown? Well, I guess evidently not. And Alexander says, I'm not handling empty streets of Boston very well. It's giving me flashbacks of standing in Times Square after 9/11. I'm tearing up. Now, you can see the microphones there. That may well be where Governor Deval Patrick appears. Of course, as soon as he does, I'll go to him. In the meantime, let me introduce you to Andrew Kahn, who's in Boston. He runs a charity, and he was there when the bomb went off on Monday. Andrew, tell us about what you've seen today. Hi, Andrew, can you hear me? He's got a quizzical look, which suggests that he can't. I mean, Sam's still with us from Dexter Street in Watertown. We're waiting to hear from your governor. I'm a long way away, but I've seen very little frustration with the authorities. Most people appear satisfied with the response. Would you be with the majority on that?
Oh, I definitely am. I think they've done a great job. I mean, my wife and I were talking about this earlier. We're there, and then the police literally dropped everything as soon as they thought the guy was in the area, and went to put themselves figuratively and literally in between us and the bad guy. Like, to me, that's exactly what you want. I can't, I'm actually, it's making me a little emotional. I can't actually, ask for anything more for someone else to risk their life on behalf of mine. Like, that's just, that's exactly what we want. I think the response they're doing is wonderful and great. I would have no criticisms of it.
And in fact, we had one tweet there, didn't we, echoing the fact that it was reminding him of 9/11, and what you're saying is reminding me of how Americans talked about the firefighters and police officers on 9/11 too. Sam, thank you very much indeed for the moment. Thanks also to those of you in Canada, Hong Kong, the Netherlands, Norway and Qatar who are getting in touch. I've also just seen messages from Ethiopia, China and Pakistan. I'll try and get to those in just a moment. Let me also tell you a couple of other things that I wanted to mention. President Obama, as you would expect, has been briefed throughout the day. He was also briefed in the night as this operation was going on. You may have seen yesterday he was in Boston speaking at a memorial service. He's not in Boston anymore, but he's still being briefed. Let's speak now to Chris Farone, who's with us on the phone, a journalist with Dig Boston. Chris, thank you very much for talking to us. We'll hear you as we look at the live pictures from Boston. Tell us what you're hearing from friends and family today in the city.
Well, I'm hearing, so I've walked a lot of downtown, and I am downtown right now. I'm actually in the hotel lobby where the press conference was yesterday, where they released the pictures, and it's still out there, outside. Inside, people are glued to televisions, and my sources on the ground in Watertown tell me they're actually setting up for Mayor Tom Menino to speak to the crowd right now. And there's tanks in the area. Watertown's on lockdown. Boston is kind of frozen at this juncture.
And in terms of people's discipline about going out, because after all, everyone's being told to stay in, are Bostonians following orders on that front?
For the most part, most of the vehicles I saw on major thoroughfares, say like Huntington Avenue, all the, major areas, around where, say, the bombing was. It's mostly commercial vehicles. So I'd say by and large, but there's also a lot of tourists here. There's a lot of people who don't live here. So, people are out and about between their hotels, but certainly there's no shopping going on. Certainly most restaurants are closed.
Chris, thank you very much indeed. I'm wondering if we can speak to our colleagues in the World's Newsroom who are with us. Let's see if we can pull those up on the screen here and go back to colleagues from BBC Mundo, from BBC Russian, BBC Chinese and BBC Arabic. Ahmed from BBC Arabic, a good friend of World Have Your Say. What are you seeing from your audience?
Well, I mean, if the comments on our website, BBC Arabic website, or even major networks in the Arab world are any indication, Ross, the people there in the Arab world are not interested in following up the story. I mean, on our website, we just have 8 comments now on this developing story, and the 8 comments are centered on the conspiracy theory. They are believing that it is the work of the intelligence services in Russia or in the United States of America. However, I mean, the tweets we are getting in our Twitter account and the Facebook page, many of the tweets and the comments on the Facebook are sympathizing and expressing solidarity with the U.S. Muslims in the United States, because Islam is the first religion and the main religion in the Arab world. And they saying now we are going to hear about racial profiling, we are going to hear about guilt by association, and one of the tweets saying that a mother crying over the bomb-torn boy cries the same, whether in Baghdad or Boston. It means that the pain is no different, and you feel the pain whether it in the Arab world, at the heart of the Arab world, like the Iraqi capital, Baghdad, or in Boston.
Ahmed, let me jump in. Thank you very much. Please tell Anya I'm going to be with her in just a moment. Hi, Anya. Let me come to you in just a moment because we've managed to get through to Nada, one of our correspondents in Boston. So let's bring her in right now. She's in the screen now. Hi, Nada. Tell us where you are and what you've seen in the last few minutes.
I would gladly walk miles to go home.
Hi, Nada.
Well, Roz, I'm in Watertown, in the area that the police have cordoned off for the media, and basically we're waiting for a press conference to begin to give us an update on how the hunt and the investigation is going, and we're basically hoping that we'll have some sort of statement about the Norfolk house in Cambridge that was being searched and continues to be searched by investigators. I heard from the spokesperson here that possibly we'll have a statement on that. Also, we had authorities speaking just a short while ago, confirming a few other details. There was a Honda CR-V that the FBI had issued a license plate of, said that they were interested in finding that vehicle. It turns out now that they found that vehicle. The suspects were reported to have drove that yesterday before hijacking another car, and they found that car with no one in it. So at this point, this investigation, this hunt is still ongoing, very fluid, very chaotic, still searching for suspect number 2, the one in the FBI photos with the backwards white cap. But joining me now is Phil Salasis. He is an MIT graduate and still lives on campus. And really, the activity at MIT really kicked off all of this today, didn't it?
It did. I was awake at midnight. I heard a rumor that they had caught the suspects, so I tuned into the police radio. And immediately after doing that, I heard officer down at MIT. And MIT is one of these places where this just doesn't happen, So I quickly sent out a message to everybody at the lab that I was studying at, and we started live tweeting stuff like that. And 2 o'clock, once they had established a perimeter, I was like, I gotta go over there. Like, I lived through the DC area sniper. I lived through 9/11 in DC. I just had to be there. So I ran over here, and it's been madness ever since.
What's it been like on the MIT campus?
MIT campus, most people are locked down. I know that the Media Lab had a slumber party on the 3rd floor. All the people who were working late just ended up pulling out sleeping bags and watching The Breakfast Club. I don't know how other areas are
So taking it quite well then for the chaotic.
They're taking it in stride, and I think Boston's one of these places where it's not like we're going to hunker down and just be worried and cower in a corner,
And Christina Wilkie with the Huffington Post. You and I were speaking earlier just about the scale of this lockdown, one of America's largest cities.
Right. Well, to follow up on this point, I think when the college students are doing what they're doing as well as they can, and they're dealing with an incredible amount of stress that is unique in some ways to bombings, and rather than say a gun crime, where the perpetrator once they've been located and once they've been disarmed, there might be no follow-up fear of injury. In this case, we have word that suspicious devices have been found in Boston. Certainly, explosives were littered around Watertown last night. Some of them detonated, and so the stress level, I think, of the potential that there could be a device that you never even saw that could be deadly is weighing, I think, heavily on both civilians and investigators.
And we can hear helicopters circling above. We see response vehicles coming in and out of this area. What does it feel like to be a Bostonian seeing your city at a standstill?
It's almost surreal. There's this video game that a lot of my friends play called Call of Duty, and in that, I believe it was Russians or Chechens attack an American suburban city, and it just feels like I'm in a video game. It's not. I can't even describe this feeling.
Christina, we've heard that from a lot of people saying this feels like a movie. This never happens here. What are you hearing from law enforcement officials and others?
Sure. For them, this is extremely real. They've lost 2 officers in the past 24 hours. This is a very fraternal profession, and so as I spoke to a law enforcement officer earlier, he said the worst thing about today is that we lost one of our own, and so they're taking that loss personally. It of course invigorates their desire to catch whoever this is and to put an end to this. But each time they go into a situation, a room that they haven't been in before, a tip, a space that looks odd every time they open a bag, they're fully dealing with the potential that it could have an explosive in it, and I think that is it shows their incredible service. But yeah, this is very uniquely stressful, I think, for them.
Thank you both.
Thanks.
So as we heard there, a very grave situation. Already another officer has been lost, and authorities here say that they're working as fast as they can, looking at every potential lead to make sure that casualty number doesn't go up. Roz?
Nada, thank you very much. Thanks also to your guests. I can see that Evan in Boston has been tweeting saying, I know that we're supposed to be all Boston strong and whatnot, but I really just want to go home. Now, let's hear what this person's got to say, and I'll find out who it is as well.
That somehow children of my brother would be associated with that. So it is atrocity. We're devastated. We're shocked. Yet again, I don't know, this family does not know how to share that grief with the real victims. That's pretty much.
Can you tell us when was the last time you saw them?
I don't know. We've not been in touch with that family for a number of years. Pardon me?
Did they live here?
No, they never lived here. They never lived here.
When's the last time you saw them?
Last time I saw them was 2006. December 2005.
Did you ever know them to have any ill will towards the United States?
No. I never knew it. Even if I had a guess or something, I would just submit them myself.
What do you think provoked this?
Being losers, hatred to those who were able to settle themselves. These are the only reasons I can imagine of. Anything else to do with religion, with Islam, it's a fraud, it's a fake.
Did they have any military training at all?
No, as much, again, I've seen them when they were kids.
And any experience with guns or?
I don't know. We've seen them only in 2005. We're Muslims, we're Chechens, we're ethnic Chechens.
Do you have any kids who are close to them?
Do you think that they got radicalized in any of the mosques in that area?
If that happened, most likely, somebody radicalized them.
Right.
But it's not my brother, who just moved back to Russia, who spent his life bringing bread to their table, fixing cars. He didn't have time or chance or anything option. He's been working. That's it.
Can you move closer to the mics? Hold on. Can we get him closer to the
I've not been.
Can you move up? Take a step forward.
I've not been in touch with my brother. No, I don't know anything about that. Again.
You have children who are close to him.
No, my family. It has nothing to do with that family.
Why is
Pardon me?
Are you ashamed by what has unfolded in
Of course, we're ashamed. Yes, we're ashamed. They're children of my brother, who had little influence of them, honestly, as much as I know, who had little influence of them.
Did they contact you? Any contact with them? You haven't fallen out or anything?
It's a personal. I didn't like it, so I just wanted my family be away from them.
When did they come here?
Again, I say what I think what's behind it, being losers, not being able to settle themselves, and thereby just hating everyone who did.
Sir, when you saw their United States,
sir? I've been in the United States since. They came early 2000, since 2003.
Why are they in Cambridge? Why did
They
live
came.
in
They came to when they moved to the States, and they came to Cambridge area.
Tell me how you feel about the United States.
They immigrated, and they received asylum.
Were they going to school? Were they working there?
Yes, they lived there.
Did they go to college?
Well, I hope they were. I don't know.
So when
they grew up, as I said, me, myself, and this family had nothing to do with them for a long time.
How do you feel about America?
At least last time I spoke with my, it's about 2009.
How do you feel about America? What do you think of the United States?
I say, I teach my children, and that's what I feel myself. This is the ideal micro world, an entire world. I respect this country. I love this country. This country which gives chance to everybody else to be treated as a human being and to just be human being, to feel yourself human being. That's what I feel about this country.
Russell, can you give us your proper name and the spelling of your proper name?
My name, Ruslan, R-U-S-L-A-N.
And your
last name, Sarni, T-S-A-R-N-I.
Were they involved in any sort of training?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I've seen them as a kid. And if I even slightly be aware that they were involved in it, I'd be the first one to bring them into responsibility.
Were they ever
as
caught
an
up in the
uncle.
fighting in Chechnya? Were they ever caught up in the fighting in Chechnya?
No, they've never been in Chechnya. It has nothing to do with Chechnya. Chechens are different. Chechens are peaceful people.
That they were born over in Chechnya?
No, they were not born in there.
Where were they born?
One of them, Johar, he was born in Dagestan. That's a neighboring region to Chechnya, Dagestan.
And you haven't seen them in years?
I haven't seen them for years.
When you saw their pictures on the news, did you recognize them?
I saw them only this morning when I was contacted at 7 a.m. with reporters.
But when you saw their pictures on the news last night,
yes,
did you recognize
this
them?
picture, when they said, have you seen the pictures? My wife opened up internet. And on AOL, I saw a picture of Johar.
What do you say to Johar right now? He is still
I say, Johar, if you're alive, turn yourself in and ask for forgiveness from the victims, from the injured, and from those who left. Ask forgiveness from these people. We're not requiring forgiveness in this family. He put a shame on the our family, Tsarnaev's family. He put a shame on the entire Chechen ethnicity. Because everyone now they play with word Chechen. So they put that shame on the entire ethnicity. So that's what I would say. Turn yourself in, and whatever one, put yourself at the discretion of those who are here. So that's what I would say. Pardon me?
You've been in touch with the boys?
Not yet. Not yet.
When was the last time you spoke to him? Can you repeat your name again?
That was the last time I spoke with them. That was about 3 months ago,
Did he
maybe.
express concerns about his?
No. We agreed. No.
Where were they from? Where were they born and where they come here from?
They came here from Kyrgyzstan.
Where were they born? Where were they born?
In Kyrgyzstan.
Last time you saw them.
Pardon me? Listen, no, I don't say losers. I'm saying those who are able to make this atrocity are only losers. That's what I say. There is no idea that they may follow. Well, thank you.
What do you do for a living, sir?
What
do you do for a living? How long have you been in
I work. I have legal barrier. Thank you very much. One more thing. From now on, I dearly ask you to respect our property. Again, with the families of, those who suffered, we're sharing with them what they grieve. I'm ready just to meet with them. I'm ready just to bend in front of them, to kneel in front of them, seeking that forgiveness. Again, in the name of the family. So that's what I say. And therefore, please, yeah. Respect our property.
Just one thing in Russian. По-русски можете сказать что-то? Well, by any measure, an extraordinary press conference there from Ruslan Sani in Maryland, the uncle of the two suspects in the Boston bombings. He says he hadn't seen either of the young men for a long time. He said his brother, it would have no way have turned them against America, but it once again puts the spotlight back on Chechnya. He said they weren't born in Chechnya. That's true. They were born in Kyrgyzstan, but they grew up in Chechnya before moving to the States. Let's go now to a colleague of mine live with us from Baku in Azerbaijan, because Elshan Abbasov is from BBC Monitoring. And Elshan, you've been looking at how people in the region have been responding to the news that these two men are of Chechen origin. What have you seen?
Yes, there are quite a few comments. People have been really angry. They're saying that the United States authorities want to blame the blasts on Chechens and that they want to get rid of them, like Russia. Some of them praise the guys and they're saying that if it is true, then you helped Putin. Well done, guys. Some people said that this was done actually by the Russian Federal Security Service. Some web users said that it was strange that Chechens would do something like this in the United States. If it would be understandable if Arabs or Serbians or North Koreans did something like that. But what have Chechens got to do with this? On the other hand, some other people said
I'm just going to jump in. I apologise.
It's
It's not easy to do it because there's a bit of delay on the line. But the reason I wanted to is that these conspiracy theories are coming up. I suppose they do every time there's a terrorist attack. Some people accusing the Russians, some people accusing the Americans, lots more saying both ideas are rubbish. And I wanted to bring in Anya from BBC Russian because, Anya, we were going to speak to you just a moment ago before that press conference began. But I'd be interested to get the perspective of you and your audience.
Yes, well, we also actually had a comment from Kyrgyzstan. The uncle of the suspects has just confirmed that they are actually born in Kyrgyzstan, and one of our members of the audience called LDR on our website is saying, well, we don't want conflict with Chechens living locally. She basically expressed concerns about whether this would lead to anything serious in Kyrgyzstan. But I also wanted to mention that in the Russian network, social networking website Vkontakte, which is quite similar to Facebook, there is a web page which belongs to, or which looks like it belongs to Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. We obviously can't definitely say or verify it is his, but a lot of people think it is, and they've been leaving thousands of comments. And mostly those comments are incredibly offensive towards Muslim faith and the suspects personally. But some people are posting questions, including English-speaking people. Why on earth did you do that? Why? And also there were quite a few messages which were basically saying, well done, as well.
Annie, let me just jump in there and interrupt you. I appreciate you telling us that. Just because we've managed to get through to a couple of people in Boston, I want to make sure that we speak to. First of all, let me just read you a couple of tweets. Michael Woods says on Twitter, where everyone is going, really, this is nuts. It's unfolding right now in my city. I'm glad they've got them, though. At least these guys are being taken down. And Melissa says only 4 hours sleep after listening to the police scanner all night. One other person here, Mrs. Z says, I went to work. It's scary. It's like a ghost town. Well, let's bring in another guest to talk about this. Aaron LeBrun's a journalist at Northwestern University, which is in Boston. Aaron, share with us your experiences today.
Last night, around 11, I was on my Twitter and I saw that there was a shooting at MIT, and I didn't immediately make the connection, but this morning I woke up fairly early because I didn't sleep very well because of the whole, it's crazy here. And I read the news reports and had a text message from the school and from the governor from the city saying that we're on lockdown and we have to stay in place. So it's just a very somber vibe around school. I just heard choppers in the sky just a second ago. There's it's definitely a scary environment for sure.
Well, you're describing the choppers in the sky. Josh has just posted this on Twitter. He says it's like Grand Theft Auto, that's the computer game, when you get 5 stars and the cops and helicopters chase you from all different directions, and lots of people are comparing this with computer games and with movies as well. Let's speak to a couple of other people in Boston. Sonny, you're joining us on the telephone from Boston. Tell us where you are and how you and your family are doing. Hi, Sonny, can you hear us? Doesn't sound like that line is working. Let's try Corey, who's also on the phone from Boston. Hi, Corey. Do tell us how you're doing. No, that's a shame. We've been having trouble with the lines to Boston several times through the day. That sounds like someone's back. Corey, is that you?
Area?
Corey, are you there? No, doesn't sound like it. That's a shame. We heard someone, I'm not sure who. Sonny and Corey, thank you very much indeed, all the same. A couple of other tweets I wanted to read you. Abby says, Amherst Street is evacuated. Schools in that area on lockdown. What is going on? And Aaron, I want to ask you, you're a journalist, but you're also a student. Students like to go out at weekends. Do you think that people are going to respect the lockdown, or if this goes on for much longer, they're going to start thinking, well, hold on, there's only so much time I can spend in my apartment or in my house?
That's an interesting question. Right now, we're respecting. My roommate and I are respecting the lockdown. We're kind of hanging out in the building right now. The only places we've gone is the dining hall and back, and that's a very close. I can definitely see that coming up, especially if the situation doesn't develop further. I can definitely see people not taking it seriously enough, and as you said, going out. It's a college town, it's a college environment. There's a bunch of young people who want to have a good time, and I think time will tell. But if this develops any further in terms of any violence or what have you, I definitely think that we're smart enough to stay at home.
Thank you very much indeed for being with us and for your reporting, which has contributed to our reporting of the story. Let's try and speak to Corey one last time on the phone, who's in Boston. Corey, do go ahead and tell us what you've seen today.
Well, it started this morning when I woke up, and I heard that the city was on lockdown. And then later on, it extended to the surrounding areas. And when I originally woke up, I did see some traffic on the street, but now there's nothing. In fact, if a car goes by, I get kind of nervous and wonder why there's anybody on the road.
And what about your family?
So
have you spoken to them as well? How are they doing?
Yeah, everybody is fine. We're just on lockdown, and we're just at home. Can't go out, so... but it seems to be fine. There's down the street, there's a lot of SWAT teams, and occasionally we'll see a police car go by. But No big commotion going on earlier.
Well, Corey, thank you very much for speaking to us. We appreciate it. I'll say thanks to Elshan live with us from Azerbaijan, to Peter with us in London, and Aaron live with us from Boston. And as you can see behind me, the search for this suspect goes on. I'll be back in a few minutes here on BBC World News with Yalda Hakim to continue to keep you up to date with what has been, by any measure, an extraordinary day in Boston, and one that is set to continue. Do keep in touch with us at WHYS.
Let me say something.